By faith Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world, and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. Faith is that thing which you hoped for, but could not show evidence that it will materialize. Genesis 7 verse 5 says, "And Noah did according unto all that the Lord commanded him." He did not have the slightest evidence that there would be rain, lest known a flood. Rain had never been witnessed. Yes, this was a huge test, but lo and behold, there came yet another test. Noah and his family entered the ark. The door was miraculously shut, and then verse 10 of the same chapter says, "And it came to pass after 7 days, that the waters of the flood were upon the earth." Many Christians and biblical theologians are familiar with this 7-day pause of the fulfillment of God's prophecy, but have you ever experienced such a test? You obeyed God, but find yourself looking up to Him, not being able to move forward, or backward for that matter, and certainly not down. You are stuck, waiting on God, and for 7 whole days no less. While waiting, you will probably recount your steps to see if you correctly obeyed God's commands, or at the very least, accurately understood what you thought you did. And so we will refer back to our video on Bible math. In the second half of the content, we propose to count the number of our days as Psalm chapter 90 verse 12 admonishes. Notice that the verse says, "Count the number of our days," plural, not your days, singular. It could also mean for individuals to note how many days God has granted them. But more to the point, it says why to count at all, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. The Bible deems someone that wins souls is wise. That would be Proverbs 11 verse 30. Is God not telling us to value how much time we've been given and how much time we have left to win souls? God says in Genesis chapter 6 and verse 3, "My spirit shall not always strive with man." Then he goes on and gives a specific number of 120 years, which turned out to be the time allotted for the antediluvian's probation. He did not have to give a time limit. He could have left it open to guessing and speculation, but apparently he loves us too much to be so careless. But the context of our number counting is found in verse 11 of Psalm 90, where it asks, "Who knows the power of your anger, the terrifying thing, the object causing fear, and your wrath?" This must be referring to the 7 last plagues. In summary, count how long you have to win souls, including your own, until the wrath of God comes. And herein lies our 7-day dilemma. No, we are not referring to the 7 last plagues. 3 more Bible prophecies must occur before the final plagues. One is the 7 trumpets, the other the National Sunday Law, and finally the close of probation. In that order, please allow me to explain. The history which the great I Am has marked out in His Word, uniting link after link in the prophetic chain, from eternity in the past to eternity in the future, tells us where we are today in the procession of the ages, and what may be expected in the time to come. All that prophecy has foretold as coming to pass, until the present time, has been traced on the pages of history, and we may be assured that all which is yet to come will be fulfilled in its order. Education page 178 paragraph 3. Yes, we are close to the National Sunday Law, as stated by apostate Protestants themselves. The latest evidence being the misguided evangelical presidential mandate for 2025, but Satan has to appear first as an angel of light, or more specifically, as an impersonator of Christ himself. This happens during the 5th trumpet, see Revelation chapter 9 and chapter 13. Consider the timeline the Bible gives us. First comes the first 4 trumpets, then Satan comes in the 5th trumpet, unleashing his demonic host to tag as many as possible with his mark. God is so specific He even names Satan in both the Hebrew and the Greek. This coming is the same coming referenced in Revelation 13, where Satan counterfeits Christ's second coming. This is where the National Sunday Law is urged on eventually all people. The world will be in utter shock from the previous trumpets and fear what else might be coming. And between the miracles, raising heathen deities, and mimicking Christ, the world will accept his mark of allegiance, Sunday observance. The first of the 7 trumpets was expected on October 22, 2023. Why or how so? If we count the days since God's remnant people have been winning souls, we start at October 22, 1844, and go to October 22, 2023, totals 179 years. 179 years times 365 days each year totals 65,335 days. This number has to be referenced with all the days of this world, which is 365 days each year times 6,000 years allotted to the earth, as 6 days are allotted to each week before the 7th day or Sabbath. This total is 2,190,000 days. 2,190,000 days divided by 65,335 days equals 33.5 days. 33.5 years is the same time Christ lived on earth, 33 years and 6 months before his death on the cross. Will we see the fulfillment of the first trumpet? This video was prepared a few days after the 22nd of October, 2023. So we are in the 7-day waiting period, like Noah in the ark. So how will we know if the first trumpet has come? Are they literal or symbolic? Let's look at the historical trumpets. Their description are identical to the trumpets we are expecting. Historically speaking, all the trumpets were represented by a war of some type. Some type of aggression, conflict, and/or seizure. It would take an entire separate presentation to explain all the known details of each conquest, but if you would like a historical perspective, see Bible Readings for the Home, 1914 edition, chapter 64, The 7 Trumpets. These trumpets also match the fall of Jericho, where on the last day of circling the city, made 7 trips instead of 1. And yes, there were 7 priests blowing 7 trumpets on each trip. Now all these things happened unto them for examples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. 1 Corinthians 10 verse 11. I realize that many may question the validity to consider such a number and that there is no imperative to pay attention to such things. To that I turn your attention to this statement. It will do you good, and our ministers generally, frequently to review the closing scenes in the life of our Redeemer. Here, beset with temptations as he was, we may all learn lessons of the utmost importance to us. It would be well to spend a thoughtful hour each day reviewing the life of Christ from the manger to Calvary. We should take it point by point, and let the imagination vividly grasp each scene, especially the closing ones of his earthly life. Gospel Workers 246 paragraph 1. There can be no doubt that when Jesus commanded us to watch, he gave us something to watch for. If we are surface readers, we stop at what the text seems to tell us, Christ's second coming. There are 2 problems with this way of thinking. 1. Since we don't know the day or hour that he's coming, what is there to watch for? And 2. Do we camp out outside somewhere and look up at the sky? Remember, the truths of the Bible are deep beneath its surface. The kingdom of heaven is like unto treasure hid in a field. Matthew 13 verse 44. God's Spirit has illuminated every page of Holy Writ, but there are those upon whom it makes little impression, because it is imperfectly understood. When the shaking comes, by the introduction of false theories, these surface readers, anchored nowhere, are like shifting sand. They slide into any position to suit the tenor of their feelings of bitterness. Daniel and Revelation must be studied, as well as the other prophecies of the Old and New Testaments. Let there be light, yes, light, in your dwellings. For this we need to pray. The Holy Spirit, shining upon the sacred page, will open our understanding, that we may know what is truth. Testimonies to Ministers, page 112, paragraph 1. One studying the closing scenes of Christ's life, along with prophecy, cannot but see parallels in the closing scenes of those that live like Christ, also called Christians. Certainly we've already received more literal time on earth to win souls since 1844. But metaphorically speaking, do we get more time as well? Can we ignore the admonition to count our days, applying them to saving souls? If so, what else can we ignore? One might say, whatever's going to happen will happen, so there's nothing we can do, nothing to watch for before it happens. We can only note it after it happens. Consider this statement and Bible text. Though no man knoweth the day nor the hour, we are instructed and required to know when it is near, even at the doors. And we are further taught that it will be as fatal to us to disregard his warning, and refuse or neglect to know, as it was for those who lived in the days of Noah not to know when the flood was coming. Verses 37 to 39 of Matthew 24. And verses 44 to 51 show in what light Christ, when he comes, will regard and reward those whom he finds watching and teaching his coming, and those denying it. Blessed are those servants, whom the Lord when he cometh shall find watching. Luke 12 verse 37. Actually, there are many instances in the Bible that reference 7 days. An obvious mention is in the sanctuary service, but there are many, many more. Here are but a few. If you study these, you will see a pattern. God tests us to reprove and or cleanse us from sin. It took 7 days for the animals to fill the ark. Noah and his family waited 7 days after they entered the ark. The door was shut. They then waited another 7 days to leave the ark because the ground had not dried yet. A person had to wait 7 days outside the camp after their leprosy had left, just to make sure it was gone. Leprosy is akin to sin. This went for someone with a bleed, or if they touched a dead body, or killed someone. Suffice it to say, this is one of God's purification processes, a test of loyalty, and a faith builder. No doubt that by the time you are viewing this presentation, October 29, 2023 has passed. We cannot know exactly what happened that looks like the first trumpet. Hail, fire mingled with blood, cast down on the earth, and a third of the trees are to be burnt up, with all the grass. Which one of our current wars may escalate or morph into this prophecy? Or might there be an entirely new war? Other nations have prepared for war and may be on the brink of it. Symbolically speaking, we can say that hail represents many words, or it could be literal hail from the sky. Fire mingled or mixed with blood sounds very literal, like a bomb or bombs killing people, which in turn burns up the trees and grass. Perhaps a third part of the area involved. We will know for sure after. The purpose of this video is to step out on faith, faith in what we cannot see today, faith in God's Word. Without faith, it is impossible to please God, for whoever comes to him must believe that he is, and that he rewards those that diligently seek him. Hebrews 11 verse 6. Paraphrased. When the Son of Man returns, that is the real Jesus, not the impostor, will he find faith on the earth? Luke 18 verse 8.